Hi, this is Nick Petersen with CB Motion Graphics, and in this podcast we're going to continue our discussion about how to animate our signatures on screen. Last time we used the Write On Paint effect, and this time we're going to be using Motion Sketch and the Stroke effect. So if you haven't done so already, open up After Effects and create a new comp. Once you've made your comp, highlight it in the timeline. And then you need to do a little bit of homework. You need to study your signature because you're going to need to make a number of different objects based on how you write your signature. For me, I have 5 different strokes in my signature. The first one is the first initial of my first name, then the rest of my first name, my middle initial, the initial of my last name, and the rest of my last name. So that's 5 different things that I'm going to have to create. And in order to contain this information, we're going to be using null objects. So you're going to press Shift, Option, Command, Y to create one, and then just press Y again, 2, 3, 4, 5 null objects. Again, all I did was I pressed Shift, Option, Command, and then Y 5 times, and that created my 5 null objects. So now that we've done that, and once again, I do suggest that you get yourself a Wacom tablet. Again, mine is the Bamboo Fun, but you can use any Wacom tablet that you have available to you. Now what you're going to do is you're going to go in the order that you've made your signature. So you select null object number 1, and then you go over here to Motion Sketch, which is part of the standard workspace. Okay, so you get Motion Sketch that says capture speed at 100%. That means it's going to record in real time. We don't want any smoothing to occur, or at least as little as possible, so we're going to leave that at 1. And it'll show wireframe. Just leave all these default settings. You really don't need to do anything. Then it says start and duration. Right now the duration is the length of the comp, and that's much more than we need. The next thing here is start capture, and that's when the magic starts happening. If you click on start capture, After Effects is going to wait until you click on the screen, or if you're using a pen, until you put the pen onto the tablet, and then it will start recording from that point in time. So just by clicking Start Capture, you can see nothing happens except my cursor changes. So here we go. I'm going to start writing. So here we go. As soon as I press the pen down, it'll start. So here's my first initial. And that's it. It's done. Okay. Next thing is we're going to go down to null 2. We're going to click on null 2. We're going to come over here to Motion Sketch, and again we're just going to click on Start Capture, and now I'm going to write the rest of my first name, and there it is. Now I'm going to click on null 3, click on Start Capture. This will be my middle initial. Click on null 4. Click on null 5. Now you're probably wondering, why is he doing it this way? Why in bits and pieces? And why is he not worrying about exactly where he's putting his signature? And the fact is that we can edit this later on when we convert the null object information into something that the stroke effect can use. So I'm really not worried about it. We can scale it, we can move it, we can do whatever we need to with it. So on to the next thing. You can put your pen down because we won't be doing any more of the Motion Sketch unless you find it easier to work with that. I'm old school and I like my mouse. So the next thing we need to do is we need to create a layer that will allow us to generate the stroke effect. So we're just going to make a new layer. So Command Y, and we'll just leave a black solid because we'll use a white stroke. You can choose whatever colors you want to, but I prefer to work in black and white. It's simple. So we'll just accept the default settings, press Enter, and now we have a new solid. The important thing to remember about the stroke effect, and we won't generate it until just a second, is that the stroke effect only works with masks. So we need to create masks. So in order to do that, you press Shift Command N, and we're going to make the same number of masks as we have null objects. So we're going to go Shift Command N 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Just the same way that you made the null objects, you can create the masks the same way. Notice, however, that this goes in order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, down. When we created the null objects, it went from the bottom up to the top. So you just need to keep that in mind when you put in some new information here. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to click on null object 1, press Shift, and then click on null object 5 to select all of those layers. And then we're going to press the P key to reveal the position information. And that's what Motion Sketch has done. It's recorded the position information of each individual signature stroke that we created. Again, we can manipulate them, we can change them, but that's what Motion Sketch has done. And we need to have a way to take it from the null objects into the mask layer. And to reveal the part of the mask that we're going to be working with, click on Mask 5, press Shift, click on Mask 1 to highlight everything in between. And this time you're going to press the M key to reveal the mask path property, and that's what we need to take, what we need to put the position information in. So you're going to click on the position of null 1, press Command C to copy, and then click on mask path of mask 1 and press Command V, and you can see we get a nice looking mask path right there. Very simple, very nice, and exactly what we had before in our first null object. So you just get rid of that because we don't need it anymore. And now we click on the position of null object 2, press Command C to copy it, click on the mask path of mask 2, Command V to copy, and now here's where you can start to do a little bit of finagling and fine-tuning. All you have to do is double click on that mask and you can move it anywhere that you like. So we'll just move it right next to me. I might even try just twirling it or rotating it around a little bit and then moving it over. You can actually change the size of it, and we're going to press Enter on the number pad, by the way, to select that. You can change the size and the scale of it, but I don't need to do that just yet. So we're going to delete null 2. Now I'm going to click on the position of null 3, Command C, come up to the mask path of mask 3, press Command V. There's the J of my signature. I'm going to double click on it, move it over, and I think I do want to resize that just a little bit, and so I want to keep the proportions the same. So I'm going to press Shift and then click on one of the handles here and adjust that down just a hair, move it up. There's the J. Press Enter on the number pad to accept that. Get rid of null 3, delete it, just press the delete key. I'm going to click on the position of null 4, Command C, mask path of mask 4, Command V. There's the P. I'm going to take that and I'm going to move it over right there. I think I actually want that to be just a little bit larger, so I'm going to press Shift and click on the handle and drag that up just a bit. Move it into position. Click on null 4, press delete, and copy the position information from null 5 into mask 5. Now it gets a little bit jumbled, so find someplace that you know it is and double click on it and move it over so that it's in the right place. And there you go. Now you'll notice it's also outside the comp. So what you can do is you can select all of the masks again, double click, and then Shift and resize until they fit inside of the comp. Press Enter to accept, and there you go. We have one last thing to do, and that's generate the stroke effect. So you're going to click on the black solid down in the timeline, go up to Effect, Generate, Stroke, and it will create a stroke. Now, as I said, stroke effect only applies to masks. So you could, if you wanted to, go through and go step by step and create multiple layers to do this, but I find it's much easier if you just select all masks, and in this case we want to stroke sequentially, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you clicked off of that, they would all come up at the same time, but because it's a signature, we want them to stroke sequentially. We want to make the size just a little bit larger, so we're going to change it to 4. And again, you can make it whatever size you want. I'm just choosing 4 arbitrarily. Brush hardness, again, you can do it as you see fit. Opacity is 0. And here's where we need to pay attention. I find it easier if you just remove the values of the end, and you can already see down there in the composition window it's starting to disappear. Just bring the end value down to 0, and that way you can use the start value and go from 0 to 100. I find that it's easier to work that way. And then we won't worry about the spacing, and the paint style is on original image. So how do we make it animate? We click on the stopwatch. So we're going to set our start value right there, and that sets up a keyframe, which you can't see right now because we don't have the effect highlighted, but it is there. And let's say I want this to come in over 5 seconds. So I'm just going to drag the CTI over to 5. I'll give it half a second afterwards, drag it over to 5:15, press N to end the work area, drag the CTI back to 0. Sorry, I need to keep it on 5. My apologies. Leave it on 5, and then increase the start value all the way to 100%. It will automatically set a keyframe again, even though we can't see it. Now I'll drag the CTI back to 0, and I'll press 0 on the number pad to start a RAM preview. Give it a second to think. And all of a sudden, there we go. We have my signature in digital form. Again, it doesn't have the same accuracy of timing that the write-on paint effect does, but what this does do, it allows us to expand some of the options that we have, as we'll see in Part 3 and Part 4 of this series. So hopefully you found this informative. Again, all you have to do is study your signature and figure out how many strokes there are, create that many number of null objects, use Motion Sketch to capture each stroke, create a new solid with the same number of masks as you've made of null objects. Take the position information of the null objects and copy them into the mask paths, again linking each number with each number, and then creating a stroke effect and animating it over time, selecting all masks and making sure that it's set to stroke sequentially. And there you go. That's how you make your signature animate using the stroke effect.